Michael Dukakis got the boost he wanted from last week's Democratic National Convention. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll conducted right after the convention shows Dukakis leading George Bush by 50 to 32%, an 18-point margin. A big part of this lead comes from women. They now favor Dukakis by 30 points, 54 to 24%. And among Democrats who say they voted for President Reagan 4 years ago, a key point, 2/3 of these voters now support Michael Dukakis. And as for Dukakis' running mate Lloyd Bentsen, our poll of almost 1,800 registered voters found that half have not yet formed an opinion of him. George Bush has not picked his running mate yet and said today he will not make an announcement until he is formally nominated for the presidency next month. But in his commentary tonight, John Chancellor has a suggestion for George Bush. John?
Garrick. Word is out, as Garrick has said, that Mr. Bush is getting down to the final business of picking his running mate. Will Senator Alan K. Simpson be on the short list? You remember Alan Simpson. He's the senator from Wyoming who tore into the White House press when it was pestering President Reagan about the Iran-Contra scandals. Simpson, in a memorable phrase, said, "You're asking him things because you know he's off balance. You'd like to stick it in his gazoo." Vintage Simpson, and one of the reasons why Alan Simpson might be a good choice to be Bush's running mate. He's not famous. Wyoming has only 3 electoral votes. But he's smart, funny, irreverent, and tough. George Bush is his close friend. Simpson is a solid conservative, a savvy and experienced politician. He would help the Republicans win some mountain and western states. He'd be terrific in a debate with Lloyd Bentsen, the Democratic candidate for Veep. Alan Simpson is in many ways what George Bush isn't. He has solid roots. Bush comes from different parts of the country. He is always self-assured, while Bush is sometimes hesitant. Bush has been accused of being a wimp, an unfair charge in my view, but Simpson's rough-hewn image would offset that. And how can you dislike a man who says, "Stick it in your gazoo"? If the Republicans want a fresh mountain breeze after 8 years of the same old faces, they could do a lot worse than Alan K. Simpson of Cody, Wyoming, 6 feet 7 inches tall, full of fun and intelligence, which is commentary tonight, Garrick, about someone who is taller than you are.
I didn't think it was possible, John. Thank you. Some health news now. Surgeon General C. Everett Koop made an urgent new appeal today for Americans to eat less fatty foods. He said that of the 2 million Americans who died last year, almost 3/4 were due to diseases associated with diet, such as stroke, heart disease, and some cancers. He recommended that people eat more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Now, here is a question that we ask in all sincerity, perhaps we should say humility. Where is the United States? The answer may seem elementary, but as NBC's Bob Abernathy reports tonight, a new survey about geography found that some Americans don't even know where they live.
3 out of 4 Americans in the survey could not locate the Persian Gulf on a map. Most couldn't find Britain, France, or Japan, and some couldn't locate the United States.
It's a good thing our ancestors found their way to our shores, because today, 24 million Americans, 1 in 7, cannot find the United States on a map.
The National Geographic Society commissioned the Gallup poll to give a geography quiz to more than 10,000 people in 9 countries.
Among all adults, Sweden, West Germany, and Japan came in first, second, and third. The U.S. was 6th. For 18 to 24-year-olds, the U.S. trailed everyone.
You've heard of the lost generation? Well, we found them, and they are lost. They haven't the faintest idea where they are.
Here are some of the questions Gallup asked Americans and some of the responses we got today when we asked the same things. Question: where is Central America? In the Gallup survey, 45% did not know.
Central America is on the other side of the world somewhere.
America, right? Florida.
Question: in what country have the Sandinistas and the Contras been fighting? Only half said Nicaragua.
Egypt. El Salvador.
Over in the desert in Saudi Arabia.
Question: what's the population of the United States? 57% couldn't come close to the answer, 242 million.
I'd say 1.5 million people.
3 billion. I have no idea.
To Secretary of Education William Bennett, America's geographic ignorance came as no surprise.
One of the main reasons that a lot of our students do not know geography is we don't teach geography. There's a simple solution to this problem, which is teach it.
Teach it to students and a lot of the rest of us, too. Bob Abernethy, NBC News, Washington.
And a personnel note now. NBC announced today that Lawrence K. Grossman is stepping down as president of NBC News after 4 years at the helm. NBC President Robert C. Wright said Grossman will be succeeded by Michael G. Gartner. Gartner is a veteran journalist and past president of the American Society of Newspaper Editors. He starts on the job on Monday. It is a mystery. The Shroud of Turin, a piece of cloth some claim or want to believe covered the body of Christ after the crucifixion. But did it? Speculation is now giving way finally to scientific investigation. The results should show whether the shroud is genuine or a forgery, albeit a very old one. Stephen Frazier this evening shows us the puzzle and the people who are trying to solve it.
This was the moment scientists sought for a decade, but which many feared the church would never permit. The Holy Shroud of Turin unfolded and pieces cut from the cloth. A process which damaged the shroud, but which will eventually show how old it is. Is it old enough to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ? Or is it more recent, a forgery by a medieval artist?
If it turns out to be medieval, well, some people may like to know how it was done, and it is very much a mystery how it was done. If it turns out to be from the 1st century or thereabouts, the shroud then becomes much more important.
The church makes no claims about the shroud, which is stored behind the altar of Turin Cathedral in a darkened chapel. 14 feet long, it bears the image of a man whose wounds are consistent with accounts of Christ's crucifixion. Scratches around the head, holes in the wrist and feet, and at the side of the chest. Welts on the back in the shape of the iron weights tied to the ends of Roman whips. The shroud has withstood a blitz of 20th century science without revealing how these images got onto the cloth. Electron scanning microscopes, X-ray fluorescences, laser spectrographs, computerized relief modeling all fail to explain why the image has not penetrated the fibers of the linen as would paint or other pigments.
We have an object, we cannot understand how it was formed, but it exists. Something it should not be, and it is.
The tests that begin today don't even attempt to explain that. Instead, they'll provide a date that is accurate to within 80 years. Announcement of the results is expected in October.
But among believers, especially those who come here to Turin to see where the shroud is kept, there's no sense that carbon dating the shroud will bring its moment of truth. No confidence in the ability of scientists to prove religion.
Here, it's the mystery that's treasured, all the more so for its ability to vex men of learning and men of faith. Stephen Frazier, NBC News, Turin.
And that's the news on this Wednesday evening. I'm Garrett Utley. Good night for NBC News.